Greetings dear friends, Dragon here once again. If it's your first time stumbling onto my YouTube channel, then do please consider clicking the red button and subscribing if you like what I do. If you're returning, then do please consider taking a bit look at the Patreon page and seeing if you want to help support the channel that way. Okay, today we're getting into this, Eureka's Jackie Chan Police Story Trilogy in 4K. And I think I've tried my best to collate all the questions that I've been asked here and across into the YouTube channel. I'm going to do my best to try and answer those questions today. And I suspect the main question that most people have really is if they already have an existing release, be that the Eureka set or the Criterion set, is there any point in upgrading to the box set? Or if they already have one of these releases, is it better to maybe just get the extra standalone existing Blu-ray? So kind of what's the picture jump in terms of quality between the existing Blu-ray and the 4K? And that's really, I think, probably the main thing that's going to be the main draw for most people. The other school of thought is the extras. And we'll kind of take a wee look at those two and kind of see how they differ, because there is some kind of quite surprising differences between the various different releases. For me, first off, I mean, the box set was a little bit of a no-brainer. I bought this before even having a 4K player, really purely for the Kung Fu Bob art. I'm a huge Kung Fu Bob fan, as many of you know. And at the time of pre-ordering, we were kind of promised reversible covers for every single movie, and then the Bob cover on the front of the box set, and then in theory, hopefully Bob artwork inside the booklet. That didn't happen. We did just get kind of standard boxes inside, which is a little bit of a disappointment. They're not really reversible. These 4K boxes aren't really very see-through, but all there is just a still from the movies on the back. We don't have any alternate artwork choices, which is a bit of a shame, particularly if, like me, you were kind of really partly making the decision to buy the box set based on the fact that we're going to get a whole bunch of brand new Bob artwork. So that was kind of the first little kind of wee mishap. That obviously doesn't affect picture quality at all, but it is a factor. So I think, again, for those of us that are collecting Bob's work, you kind of have to factor if you want to buy the box set just for the cover image, because that's literally all you are getting. Now, the 4K transfers on here are exactly the same transfers that were used on both the original Eureka Police Story 1 and 2 set and the Criterion Police Story 1 and 2 set. So there's not a huge, it's not a night and day jump, particularly if the 4K player that you have will upscale existing Blu-rays. I can't see much of a difference. If I play the Police Story or Police Story 2 Blu-ray in my 4K player and have it upscaled to 4K, there's marginal difference between that and the 4K releases that are on here. So essentially, really, it's not a substantial bump. It's not an entirely new remaster. It's not kind of a new restoration that they've done specifically for this box set. It is working with the existing Fortune Star restorations, and then just presenting them in a 4K resolution. So it's really not night and day. And I think that's largely the root of some of the less than favourable reviews that I've been seeing. Most people cite the Bluray.com review, and that's certainly the one that I went to before making this video and had a little read through what he was saying. He's clearly never been a fan of any of the Police Story releases on Blu-ray at all. He hated the Hong Kong version, wasn't a fan of the Criterion version, and isn't particularly taken with the Eureka versions either. Some people, I guess, you cannot please. For me, having started these movies on VHS and then progressed through the old Hong Kong Legends DVDs, I kind of found that when I first saw these on Blu-ray, I was pretty pleasantly surprised. And really, essentially, there is a little bit more detail when watching them on 4K, but it's, like I say, not night and day. So don't expect to have your jaw absolutely dropped by the transfer that's on display. If you've got the existing Blu-rays and you have access to a 4K player, you will largely get the same kind of experience, just upscaling the traditional Blu-rays to 4K. So then it becomes more of a case of what is the Police Story 3 release like? And the Police Story 3 release, similar situation, similar restoration, and again, very similar quality. So you watch the standard Blu-ray upscaled to 4K, or you watch the 4K disc, largely the same experience. Again, there's not a different version that's available on this release. We do have cover art on this by Darren Wheeling, who some people either very much like or some people are not a huge fan of, as is the case with all artwork. So if you did have the existing 1 and 2 release and you just want an easy way of completing the trilogy, then absolutely the standalone release is great in terms of the extra features. I'm more of a fan of Bob's artwork, and the extras that are on the standalone Blu-ray and the extras that are on the box set are entirely identical. However, the standalone release does have the inclusion of 4 lobby cards, which it kind of would have been nice if they'd included in the box set, particularly if they were having to tell us that they couldn't have individual artwork. It would have been cool if they'd given us the lobby cards that come with a standalone release. If you have bought the box set and you don't obviously want to buy a standalone just for these, fear not, I have an extra set of these that I've managed to kind of get a hold of. So I'm going to give these away on the Patreon channel. So I will make sure that kind of somebody who already has the box set and who's after the lobby cards is able to get a set. That's going to be across all 3 tiers. I'll do a little poll and try and work out who to send them to pretty damn soon after this video has been up. So yeah, if you're considering getting the standalone release just for these, please don't. We'll try and see one of you to get a hold of those, because the extras that are on these 2 releases are pretty exhaustive. So the extras that are on part 3 are definitely the kind of the most compelling. And we get new commentary tracks across all 3 movies. On the box set's the other only way to get these. The commentary tracks were not on the original Police Story 1 and 2 set, with the exception of one archive commentary by Jude Power on Police Story 2. No commentaries at all on the Criterion set, and for those that are commentary fans, which I very much am, we get 2 commentaries on each film here. So again, that's kind of bumping up the value, or the perceived kind of overall value of the 4K set, is the 2 wonderful commentaries, one by Frank Jen, joined by F.G. DeSanto on each movie, and then a separate track by Big Mike Leader and Arnav Enema. And those commentary tracks across the board, pretty entertaining. I found myself slightly more drawn to the Frank Jen and F.G. DeSanto commentary tracks. They have a slightly different experience, and Frank's knowledge of kind of Hong Kong and of Cantonese language and of Chinese culture is second to none. So it's always really interesting hearing him put his perspective on the movies. The Mike Leader and Arnav Enema track are very much in keeping with their other tracks. So if you're a big fan of their kind of mix of facts and comedy and laughs, you will absolutely love the 3 tracks they put together. And Arna's also made 2 brand new extra video features. One looking at the various locations used throughout the movies, which is really entertaining. He's wearing a mask because Hong Kong regulations dictate that you absolutely have to, even if there's no one else around you. So he would have been shut down if he didn't. So please don't judge him too harshly by the fact that we can't see his face throughout the course of the extra features. It's still really entertaining. And the mask in some ways just kind of gives us a weird sign of the times. So if we watch this in 5 years' time, we'll be like, what was all that about? We also get the ultra-violent Jackie Chan video games feature, looking at a couple of different video games that Jackie Chan had been involved in the creation of, some of which came to market, some of which didn't, but really well produced, really well put together. And we get an enormous amount of NGs, I think about 50 minutes worth. And then we get archival interviews with Jackie Chan, with Michelle Yeoh, with Ken Lo. A lot of these have been floating around on different releases over the years, but it's nice to kind of have them all pulled into one place. So there are a few bits and pieces that didn't make their way onto the set, which is a little bit of a shame. Most notably is the Japanese cut, which is quite a bit longer. So the Hong Kong theatrical cut of Police Story 1 is about 100 minutes long. The Japanese cut is about 105 minutes. Largely, it's just kind of extra comedy. There's a big chunk with Mars and a kind of like attempt to smash a birthday cake into somebody's face in the first kind of reel, which is quite a strange start to the film before we kind of get into them detailing what's going on in the shanty town and the first time that we see Choi Yun's character. And it's a little bit strange. It kind of does affect the tone of the film a little bit, makes it a bit more of a jokey experience. The deleted scenes are available on YouTube, so you can kind of watch them separately. If you did want to kind of have the full cut, then the existing Eureka Police Story 1 and 2 is pretty much, to my knowledge, the only way of getting it. And we also get the Police Force cut, which is even shorter. This was originally made for the US market, runs for about 84 minutes long, though that has been ported over onto the set. So it's really just the Japanese cut that you're missing out on. There is also a couple of different cuts on Police Story 2, and the UK version, the short 90-minute version, which is presented on here in SD, again, hasn't made the transition. As far as Police Story 3, all the cuts between the 2 versions are exactly the same. And the only other differences in terms of extras that you're missing out on comes from the Criterion set, where there's a really good Edgar Wright interview, which is a time Edgar Wright sat down with Jackie, I think about 2017 kind of time. It's a really fascinating chat. Edgar Wright's a very kind of enthusiastic and very great host when he's sort of interviewing Jackie, and he asks him quite a few questions that I haven't previously heard him speak about. Cover art on the Criterion version, also pretty impressive. Really nicely done by Jeremy Anicio, who also did their cover art for Joey To's Throwdown. It's a really nice release, though less extras than the Eureka version of the UK for that particular movie. But yeah, really nice presentation on the Criterion set, which is kind of why I'm definitely keeping a hold of this one. This set, I think I've managed to track down a couple of double 4K discs boxes. So what I'll probably end up doing is Frankensteining this set into here. So having Police Story 1 and 2, having 2 discs each and kind of keeping it that way. This I am selling. I think it's quite redundant, so it's very much a case of either or. You either go for the full box set, or if you already have one of the existing versions, just pick up the standalone regular Blu-ray or Supercop, and you'll pretty much get the best of both worlds. In some cases, you'll have a few extra cuts if you've already got the existing Eureka release of 1 and 2, and you'll have a few different extras if you already have the Criterion set, and that's pretty much how it will unfold, I suspect, for most of you. It's maybe worth mentioning the kind of the bootleg side of things. This is my own cover for the old Hong Kong Rescue Blu-ray, which is obviously not on proper discs, it's just on recordables, which are always make me a little bit nervous, and they never really last too long. Does have some slightly different extras in terms of it's got a different commentary track on there from the old Dragon Dynasty release, but at this point I can't recommend anyone to pick up Hong Kong Rescue titles. It's so hit and miss as to whether you even get them. But yeah, that was certainly the other option that was floating around. And guys, that's pretty much it as far as the 4K set goes. In my mind, I had kind of hoped to wait off and do a comparison between this set and the 88 Films 4K release of Supercop. But I think that video will end up being a bit too confusing to try and cover all these things in one go. So when the time comes, all I'll do is a straight look between the 4K Eureka set and then the standalone 88 set. We'll do a little A-B comparison between the Supercop that's on here and the Supercop that's going to be on the 88 version when it comes out in December. And that's pretty much it. So any other questions that you have, do please let me know in the comments down below. If you've not already done so, please jump over and take a little look at the Patreon page. As always, my eternal and extremely grateful thanks go out to Kevin Smith, to Johnny Wheats, to Dustin Lewis, to Owen Jones, to Carlos, to the Asian Cinema Guy, to Matthew Miskick, to Big Movie Freak, to Andy T, to Andy Dolloway, to Alistair Dyson, and to Bing Bonglor for all already signing up to the Patreon at various different tiers. There's quite a few different benefits on offer depending on which tier you go for, but if you've got a second, I would very much appreciate it if you jump over and take a little look at the page and see if you'd like to support the channel that way. Thank you so much to all of you for watching this. I've been the Fanatical Dragon. I will see you on the next one. Take care.